All right, guys, we're here with what is going to be a very rough expert guide to the tournament. I do plan on updating this before opening round, after we get to see the exact wins and so forth. But this should give you a good idea. I didn't go for any crazy shots here in this guide. This is all basic stuff. What I would suggest as generalized routes. Certain wind conditions will call for more aggressive shots. Certain wind conditions will call for safer shots, and so forth. That's why there will be an updated one, but this will be a good start going into qualifying rounds. So here we have hole one, par four. The blue line is the line I prefer, especially if you don't have max clubs. I feel like this is your safer route for the guaranteed birdie. It is harder to get the eagle this way, but this is the guaranteed birdie in my opinion. It's played with, you'll be using, a Thor's hammer. Depending what level your quarterback is at, you could possibly be playing it with that. Something with some accuracy and a decent amount of distance. You just want to come past this, past the trees, and just about the end of the fairway here. Second shot, you're going to land your shot just outside of this little V in the rough. That's about the spot. It might be a touch longer, a touch shorter, depending the wind, but that's about the spot you want. Full left spin, about 2 backspin, and a fair amount of curl as well, as much as you can put on probably. A maxed out sniper or something doesn't quite need all curl, but like 70%. It's a good deal of curl. The white line is the more aggressive play. It's the eagle shot. But you're going to need to get some good distance on the drive because you want to be as close to the end of the left side of that fairway as possible. And second shot's going to require a lot of precision because you're playing on a very dangerous slope. You're going to need a lot of backspin to stop that ball on top of the top left of the green and have it roll back. This is going to be done usually with a guardian. You can pull it off with a high-level sniper. Probably going to be it as far as the woods go for getting that done, unless you have a high-level hammerhead or something else with a good deal, at least 50 backspin. You're going to want 5 bars just in case the wind is not in our favor. It's like I said, it's a more aggressive route. If you miss your lineup, you could end up in the bunker, you can end up in the rough behind it. Easier to miss your shot, but better chance of getting your eagle. So if you're really trying to play aggressive, that's the route you want to practice for the weekend. Hole 2. This par 3 is going to be interesting. We had a sneak peek at what potentially could be the winds. They may change it since they technically leaked it. We had headwind. I believe it was right to left headwind, which allows for a maxed out rocket shot, which is what this white line is. You're going to play directly at the bottom of the green with just about max backspin. A little less. If it is headwind, it might be a bar less than full backspin. And about a bar left spin. And it should put you right at the hole. Left to right wind, or right to left wind, you'll likely want to take the blue line. And that's going to be the most common way you see this hole played. Going to be done with about 4 backspin, give or take, depending on if there's any head or tailwind to that shot. In the exact spot you pick, it could be 5, could be 3. And about a bar of right spin. That pink dot up there is an alternate. I basically only suggest that spot if we have tailwind. And you're going to want a club, something like Thor's hammer, quarterback. A very strong wood could probably make that reach as well. But chances are that's going to be your driver. Like if you were using a kingmaker with like a big dog, you might make that reach. So a max big dog or something could do it as well. You want something with some backspin option to it. At least 3 or 4 bars, I believe. And you're going to curl it. Small curl, only about 25%. I believe it's 3 bars backspin. And then 3 to 4 bars right spin. And you should come out fairly close there. And I really only suggest taking that shot if the tailwind leaves you in a situation where you are not able to adjust for that blue line. If you're having a hard time getting to that spot, like no matter what power ball you're using, the pink spot might be the answer for you. This is going to be people that are playing expert mainly, that are new to expert. You just got to this ranking. You know, you might not have the strongest and the best clubs out there. So this will be at a funky spot for you. This could also be a high-level pro player as well. A lot of these holes, it'll translate pretty well to pro. The big difference is going to be wind and the directions we see. So this rough guide will probably be pretty accurate to a rough guide in pro. But once we get an updated, revised guide come Tuesday or Wednesday, the guide will be probably a lot different than pro. Hole 3, one of my favorite holes in the game. I'm a firm believer left is your only option. You want to be as close to the hole as you can every shot. That's how I believe you win golf. Without risking it, obviously. You know, you don't want to be doing that, taking a very dangerous shot where you're like 80% sure you're going to hit the water. That's not what I'm talking about. But you got a right and left option here that are about the same in difficulty to hit. But the left shot played perfectly is going to get you closer than the right shot played perfectly. So I like the left here. That's why we went with the blue line. You're going to be bouncing, depending on your club distance and your ball length, either at that white dot or just a couple yards shorter in front of that pink tree. And you're going to use a little bit of right spin and top spin to keep that ball rolling. If we have right to left wind, I suggest curling it to help produce more right curl on that bounce. If we have left to right wind, you shouldn't need to curl that shot at all to get it where you need. And I highly suggest using something like a high-level Thor's hammer. Apocalypse would do well, something with some good topspin to get you up there as close as you can to the edge of the fairway by that creek. Second shot is going to be, what I like to do is the blue line with a sniper. That's a rough bump. It's going to be about 2 bars, 1 to 2 bars backspin, depending where exactly you're aiming in that rough. And about 3 or 4 bars left spin from this angle, and that'll get you close to the pin. It's going to be slightly different depending exactly where you're aiming, but that's my spot where I've got, that's about the consistent measurement. If you're not comfortable with that shot because of the wind direction, then I play the hop, which is this white line. You're going to land about a ring, maybe 2, depending on the wind. 2 if the wind is blowing right to left, so you're worried about going in that water, then play it an extra 2 ring safe to the side. Little curl, little left spin, little back spin, and it should stop you pretty close to the cup. Hole 4, this is one we're going to see some crazy stuff if the winds are right. But the 2 lines here are essentially the same line, just depending on wind and your club strength. So if you cannot make this hop, if you cannot make the hop where the white dot on the blue line is where you're bouncing, so your second shot is at the start of this blue line here, the second blue line, then your second shot will be where this white line is. You're going to play up short, play safe. You can still make the easy birdie from there. Your chances of eagle are pretty much washed out the drain. But if you can't make it, it's better to play this safe and get your birdie than go in this water. Or end up, in the rough before the water where you have 0 chance of making the green. If you can make this hop, then I suggest a rough bump in front of this green here. This should be a long iron shot. I like 1 to 2 bars of top spin, 2 bars if we have headwind, 1 bar if it's any other wind, and a bar to the right or left if the wind is side wind as well. Just want to counter the wind. So left to right wind, you want 1 bar left spin. And you can get that ball right in the hole from that shot. It's pretty true adjustment. There is a 10% addition to water, but a long iron shot here is going to often be about mid distance. So that mid will cancel out with the water. So it should be close to true adjustment. If you're playing the second shot, you want to come in, somewhere towards the end of this line. You might not have that reach. You might be a little shorter than that, depending what club you bring in. I like the sniper for the shot, but something like the hammerhead would be a very good option as well. Good accuracy, decent distance, decent ball guide, and decent top and backspin as long as it's level 3 or up. Enough to control the ball. And what you end up doing is you hit I use again about 2 rings of safety net from the rough on the left, and about 1 to 2 bars backspin, 2 to 3 left spin, and curl. And if you hit your line just right, you'll kind of hit the rough at the very tip where the bunker is up there and come back down towards the cup. This will be a shot we'll see 4 or 5 different methods being used, and really all of them are viable options. My 2 preferred ways of playing this hole are the blue line, which is a sniper rough bump, which is what I like doing if the wind is like tailwind, something where I don't think I could stop the ball with some backspin. Then I like doing the rough bump here. The white line is technically 2 different shots. So we'll get into that, but that's actually 2 shots. The blue line, if you take that rough bump, it's 2 to 3 top spin and maybe a touch of right spin. Trust your ball guide there. It tends to be pretty accurate. If anything, it's going to go a little long, so it's better to aim a little short than long here. The white is your shot at the hole. The blue line is your safe. Take your birdie in some tough wind. The white is your shot at the hole. Left to right or right to left wind, I'm playing the rough bump between the bunker and the fringe on that white line. And we're going to go for the cup that way. That'll again be a sniper shot. But if we have headwind or any form of headwind, then I'm going to be taking the guardian and using that same exact spot to try and go past the hole and roll back down the slope for the hole-in-one. Measurements are pretty true here on this shot. There's a little bit of water, but there's also a little bit of elevation, and I think they basically cancel each other out in this hole. I've never really found any issues going true adjustment as long as you're at max club. Hole 6. Fun but challenging. We're going to see a lot of mistakes on this hole, and we're going to see a lot of brackets decided by this hole, I think. Anybody that eagles this hole is going to be up on the game for sure. Drive is pretty straightforward. You want to play as safely as you can up the center of this fairway. The line I put here is the spot I would be for, like, let's say left to right wind. And if it's right to left wind, then I'm going to hug those right bunkers. So just play the wind in the direction that it's going. Use that line as your spot for adjusting, and then adjust to the wind still. But that way, if the ball pushes, which it should, up in Expert, we're seeing like 10-mile-an-hour winds on average. It's going to push it even after the first bounce here. It's going to continue to push that ball to the direction that the wind is blowing. So you want to start your line at the end of the bunkers, and it should be safe. Your second shot, you have a couple options. These are the 2 I find are the best in most situations. This blue line is a rough bump. 1 bar of top spin, 2 bars of right spin. I only take this shot if the wind is in the directional flow of the rough there. If I can line up my shot so that no matter if I miscalculate the wind in any which way or hit great, it's still got a very high chance of clipping that rough where I want and being on the green and safe, then that's the route I take. If the wind does not cooperate with that, I go with that white line, which is a curl shot. I bring the sniper on this hole every time. This is a curl shot. It's going to be, a good 50% curl. You don't want to over curl it. 50% curl. 2 to 3 bars of backspin. maybe more if the wind is going to be left to right tailwind on the second shot. Then 3 or 4 backspin might be the trick there. And just 2 or 3 bars of right spin. You don't need to overdo it because the curl is going to pull it over as well. So with your spin, line up your shot a little left of the flag stick, and then use curl to come in more to the right. Hole 7. 9 out of 10 times I suggest playing either the left or the right route. There's almost no wrong way to play these. You can play them. You have to use backspin. But outside of that, let's say you're playing the blue line, you can use both back and left spin, or you can use back and right spin, and they both will work. It just changes the way the ball is going to bounce off of that fairway. So you just need to gauge it with the wind direction we get. And whenever spin you decide to use, whatever ball guide looks good, after your first shot, just keep tweaking that ball spin the same direction. I personally go left. I use this blue line, and we'll do 2 to 3 backspin, 2 to 3 right spin, depending on the exact spot I pick based on my club situation, whether I'm fully at min or a little at min, whatever the case may be. I usually try to aim about exactly for where these dots are showing here. If the wind is right to left, however, I do prefer the white line. Any other wind, I will take the blue line. But straight right to left, or I'll say within about a 45-degree, give or take, either way, right to left, then I'm going to take the white line. Every other time, I'm going to take blue. And I suggest a side spin 3 or a wind ball. If you have a wind 5, like a bandera ball would be fantastic here. But if you don't, something like a kingmaker will do great. You don't want side spin 1, side spin 2 or 3. Best wind ball you have with side spin 2 or 3. It's going to give you the control you're looking for to dial in that shot. All right, another one that's going to very much so depend on the wind. With any form of tailwind, I am taking the blue line. And first bounce is going to be, right at the bottom of that fairway. It's pretty much, with a lot of tailwind, you're going to want like 1 or 2 bars backspin to stop this ball on this fairway. If you can reach, if your club is strong enough that you can reach that with straight left to right or right to left wind, no back or top spin is preferred. And if you're reaching with a little bit of headwind, if you're overpowering but reaching, you might need 1 bar of top spin. If that shot is not playable directly, the first X to the left of the line, if you hit about there with a good chunk of curl, so you need an apocalypse or a high-level extra mile, something with a good amount of curl, high-level Thor will do it as well, a side spin 3 ball, and about 2 or 3 top spin, and you can make this hop. Keep in mind it's a downhill shot, wind will overplay, so if we have left to right wind, be very careful not to underplay it and clip this rough or this bunker, because you'll have a very tough time recovering from there. If the wind does not allow for either of those 2 shots, or we have strong right to left tailwind, then I'm going to go third X all the way to the left here. No curl, lots of right spin. We want to end up about where that third tree shadow is. Both of these shots, from the end of the fairway and the tree shadow, green can be reached. You're likely going to be using a long iron if you get to the end of the green on the right to take a bounce shot over the water. It's about 1 bar of top spin, and I believe 2 bars right spin. Will put you to just hit that fringe. When your second bounce over the water should just hit the fringe or fairway before the green. If you hit the green on the second bounce, you're playing a little too far. If you hit that rough, you're in trouble, obviously. So that's the spot you're looking for. That's the sweet spot with as little top spin as you can. It's probably going to take about 1 bar, but as little as you can. If you can involve backspin in that shot, if you can get close enough to the edge and you're comfortable with it, and especially tailwind, backspin's the way you get that that shot in the hole. From the left side and that second tree, you want to aim just directly left of the green, backspin, full right spin. How far left you aim just depends on how much backspin you have and how much curl you have. You want to come, the idea with that shot is you can roll up to the top of the green and it'll come back down towards the cup. So you can have too much power there as long as you maintain that bowl of the green. So it's a safe shot if the wind is really not allowing us to go to the right. But in all circumstances, if we can go to the right, that's going to be our best chance at the eagle for the hole. And finally, hole 9. I really see this as a one-hole way here. You can play the second shot differently. You can go to the long fairway here, but you're going for a chip-in eagle. There's no way to go to the green from that long fairway. So there's really no reason to go that way other than if you're really just scared you can't nail this shot to the right, which is not really a likely situation for anybody that's up at the expert level tournaments. Maybe someone that's up at a decent level pro, but you don't have a whole lot of experience with this hole. I could see that threatening you, this curl shot. But really, that's the shot you want to take. So I would get comfortable with it. This hole, I prefer like a Thor's hammer. Or your extra mile or apocalypse that has better accuracy. Because this fairway where you want to hit down here is pretty narrow. And if you have a club that has poor accuracy and you hit great, it could clip that rough and put you in trouble. But the idea of the shot is you're going to come in right before that bottleneck of the fairway and that little rough patch on the both sides there where that white dot is. You're going to curl it in there. Pretty good amount of curl. At least 50% curl. Full left spin and about 2 top spin, depending the wind position. If the wind is more tailwind, you might only want a bar of top spin, maybe even none if it's strong. If it's right to left wind, then 1 or 2 bars is going to be safe. You should stop before that rough up there. Second shot is going to highly depend on your level. If you have a level 9 or 10 sniper, I would probably recommend that club. It's going to be your best chance at aiming the shot to get you in the pin. If you have a level 8 or lower sniper, then I would recommend either bringing the Guardian, or if you have a decent hammerhead, something with that little bit of extra distance. You want about 170. 166 with some good topspin is okay, but 170 is preferred. That 170-yard shot is going to be about exactly where this dot is, maybe a touch shorter. You can reach longer if we have tailwind, but no need. You want to bounce just before this fairway. A couple rings distance is safe. And about, I want to say it's 2 bars, 3 bars of backspin, depending on the wind, and about 2 bars of left spin. And that shot should come into the green. It'll roll a little up past the hole and come back down. Unless we have headwind, that'll actually come in just about at the pin. It's a small amount of curl to make sure you come around these trees, but you do not want to overdo the curl. That's what the left spin is there to help get you back straight for. You're going to do about a 20% curl here. Just enough to ensure we get around those trees. It'll be 30 or 40% if the wind is right to left. So we can make sure, and then you're going to aim a little further right to make sure that we get the curl around the trees and still hit where we need to on the green. And if it's right to left wind, I would avoid much of any left spin, maybe 1 bar left spin. The wind will correct that bounce. And that's really it, guys. My suggestions for this hole, because we're going to see a lot of people hitting the rough, either going too long or hitting great and ending up in this bunker here. My suggestion is play your second shot safe down in this fairway here. That little I don't know, almost like a Christmas stocking shape right here. play it down here as close to the back of it as you can, so you can get a straight line at the green for your third shot. If you come up too far, like let's say you're between these two bunkers, you're going to have to shoot between these trees and do a rough bump on a very strangely elevated shot. It's quite difficult. So I would suggest playing very short and coming just to the bottom of this stocking, unless you can reach really long and you can either get up to the left of these trees, or you can get past those two bunkers almost to the end of that fairway. You know, not up by the top bunker, but if you got the third bunker starting from the left, 1, 2 in the center, 3 up, if you can go straight left of that, then you can clear the trees and you can play that shot. But that's a very long reach from, say, the bunker. So unless you have a high-level Spitfire or something, that's going to be very difficult to do. And I suggest playing that shot short if you mess this drive up on your qualifying round. Depending on the wind, it might be very, very common. So that's about it, guys. We'll have a much more updated one with exact winds and exact club and ball suggestions for each shot. I'm sure there's going to be a few shots that completely change direction with. But that is a rough guide that should get you started in a good place in the Expert Tournament. Good luck to you guys. Let's hope for some decent wins this tournament and some cool scores. You know, want to see some -28s on a round that most people are shooting 24s. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't, please like, subscribe, share. This is my first expert guide. They will get a little better, a little more advanced as we go on, and I learn to master my tools. So I appreciate you bearing with me with a very simple guide here, but hopefully it's informative and helps you out. Take it easy, guys.